Part 3, Magnolia Fever and the Fixer-Upper Phenomenon.
You know, so now we kind of get to the very end, and you've gotten to observe the Magnolia Fever and the Fixer-Upper Phenomenon, and as a proud papa and a grandpa, just observations on that experience, reflections on that. What are you proud of, excited about? Anything you'd like to share about?
Well, Chip has written about this in his book, and so I'm not revealing something that I don't think is not already out there in the public, so I don't mind sharing this, but the Magnolia experience, it was a miracle from God. Absolutely, no doubt about it, 100%, can't refute it, and I know because I was living it.
Yeah.
And somebody else may say that's not a miracle, but I'm telling you, it was a miracle.
Yeah, as he describes it, plucked from obscurity.
Absolutely. And so we were going through some serious financial issues. Chip and Joanna were on the verge of bankruptcy, and they were living hand to mouth, day to day, thinking today's the day that they're going to come and everything's going to go
Seize
south.
it all, yeah.
Absolutely.
You bet.
And it was back in 2008. The real estate economy has gone in the toilet again, and nobody's buying homes. And Chip and I went out in our ultimate wisdom and said, let's start a subdivision. And so sure enough, we did, and got in the middle of it, and got tractors lined up, and people doing streets, curbs and gutters, and construction workers going on, and the bank comes back and says, we're not going to be able to loan you the money that we told you we're going to loan you.
Yeah.
And we're going, whoa, all this construction equipment sitting out there and the money that we owe and all that kind of stuff. Well, how are we going to do this? So I was in Sunday school, and the Sunday school teacher said that, you know what, when you really want to get an answer from God, you need to fast and meditate. I came home from Sunday school that day, and I talked to Gail about it, and I said, we need to call Chip and Joanna right now and ask them to fast and to pray and meditate about what we can do. And we did that. And I remember, the minute I made the commitment, I was starting to get hungry. 5 minutes later, I'm starving to death. What about you? And so we did it for 24 hours. And so you say, man, that's not a very big commitment. But we felt like that the prayer and the time that we were thinking about it and meditating about it was sufficient. And I'm not going to say it happened like a flash of light and immediately, but all of a sudden different things started coming into place. Chip went to his the guys that were owed money and said, look, I can't pay you. The bank has backed out on us. We can't do it. We don't have the money. I gave him some money. Joanna's family gave him some money. We paid some of the people off, and so we kept the whole ball rolling.
Yeah.
We got it to the point to where we could actually put a house up. He put a house up and it sold. Took that money and paid the bank some money. paid the vendors some money, and then another house sold and another house. And so next thing you know, a church member came up to him. And out of the clear blue sky, I mean, they knew nothing about Chip and Joanna's financial condition, nothing.
Yeah.
And said, God told us to give you this envelope. And they handed them the envelope. And they went home and looked in it. It was $100,000. And he said, you don't have to pay us back. If you can never pay us back, that's okay. But one thing after the other happened that led to Joanna writing this blog.
Yeah.
And a lady in Europe
Right.
picks it up, reads it, and says, HGTV, you got to go talk to these people in Waco.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They've got something special there that they're doing that you're not seeing everywhere.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, they come down and they do this pilot. The pilot blew the lid off of the ratings. There was something there that people saw in Chip and Joanna on TV that said, wow, I wish our family was like that. That's what our country needs. We need something wholesome. We need something that's got some kind of substance to it other than sex and violence and criminal behavior and those kinds of things. And that came through that television show.
You bet.
And even though HGTV was not a medium that really took on the religious side of, they allowed things to come through that TV that you didn't see in other venues.
That's right.
And so that's how it happened. I mean, it was a miracle from God, and one thing led to the other, and their ratings just kept climbing, and gave them the ability to create the silos, and even that is just unbelievable how it all came together, and just one step after the other, because we decided to get on our knees for 24 hours and surrender ourselves to what God had planned for us.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to make it any more complicated than that, because it's really not any more complicated than that. And so things just grew out of that into the phenomenon it is today. And they've got so many things going on, you just can't count them on a single hand. And when you talk about your bushel overflowing, their bushel is overflowing. And
yeah, test me in this.
Absolutely.
Your storehouse will overflow.
Exactly.
That's right. It is a powerful testimony. I hear about it in Missoula, Montana.
Exactly.
I heard about it in Washington, D.C.
Exactly.
Hey, have you seen the show?
Yeah.
Have you seen these guys? Oh, yeah.
And we go up there and we volunteer when they do the celebration every year. And,
Right.
And so I drive the golf cart.
Okay.
And so I just ask people, where'd you come from? Well, we're from Oregon, and we're from Michigan, and we're from Ohio, and we're from California, and we're from Maine. And this last time, I had some people from Switzerland. Now, where you came here from Switzerland? And the stories are just unbelievable. One lady told Gail that her and her daughter made a trip from California and drove to Waco.
Yeah.
From California. 3 months earlier, her son was riding on a four-wheeler and flipped it, and it killed him. 7-year-old boy. And she said, we had to make this pilgrimage because we needed to go to a place to where you could get a feeling of love and calmness and peace. And the little girl started crying and was holding her mother's hand as she was telling this story. And there was just so many stories like that that people, and like a pilgrimage. I mean, it's like people are going there to get a feeling and part of what they see on TV.
That's right.
If I could have that feeling just for a little while.
And you just can't find it in our culture anymore.
Exactly. And that could give me that kind of peace, even if it's for just a little while.
Right.
Then let's go make that trip.
Yeah.
And so the stories that people tell,
the impact
about the impact that it's had on their lives. And another lady called me and she said, my friend's dying. She's dying of cancer. She wanted to come here, but she's just not strong enough. And so we kind of became friends. And she called me and said, "Is there any way that Chip could call her?" And I said, "You know what? Chip can't call." I said, he's just got way too many things that he's doing in order to stop in his day and make the phone call, but let me call her. And so I called her and talked to her, and she told me that watching the show, that's what she does all day as she's getting her chemo and stuff, but just having the opportunity to minister to somebody in their final days, and give them some kind of peace and solace, if you will, that there's something that we all look forward to that's better than where we are.
Right.
And that's where you're going to be. And so we had those conversations, and it was wonderful to be a part of that and get to experience that with her. Right. And sure enough, like 2 or 3 weeks later, she passed away.
Yeah.
But Chip and Joanna have been able to touch so many people's lives. They just went to St. Jude's Hospital this last week, and Chip shaved his hair and his beard and bald now, and raised $230,000 for those kids up there. And
yep.
And again, when he's up there, he's saying the same thing. I mean, oh my, to watch your child go through the experience that some of those kids are having to go through, and to fight that battle they're having to fight. Right. It's just overwhelming that I can just be a small part of that experience, peace and comfort that they feel. And those kids, they watch the show. They say the same thing. We watch this during our chemotherapy sessions, and it's something that they can do and not ever feel threatened that some nasty thing's going to happen or some violence is going to happen. I mean, I can watch this and enjoy it and have fun watching Chip do his stupid stuff and run through walls and do the things he's doing. So seeing his kids and that kind of thing, it's powerful. Yeah.
I remember years ago hearing a group of people sort of convene to talk about creating virtuous content.
Yeah.
Because our culture is starved.
Yes.
For virtuous content.
Absolutely.
And I remember, our daughter's 15, and I remember finding, searching rather for a show that we could watch.
Yes.
And we landed on something that had the word teen in the channel's name.
Yeah, right. Right.
And, there were 13-year-old girls that were sending hateful texts to each other.
Absolutely.
Picking on people.
Yep.
And, but I do think that's a high compliment to hear the testimony of husbands and wives that say we watch this with our kids.
Yes.
And they love it.
Yep.
They love Joanna, they love Chip, this is our favorite thing.
Right.
Remember that time they did this?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that's powerful.
Yes. And so many husbands, you think, what husband's going to sit down and watch this show? Oh. And they're just as enamored with it as the women are.
Yes.
And because they like to see Chip's antics, and they like to see what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
And again, what you're seeing on TV is not some kind of act.
Right.
I mean, that's really how they are. And so that comes across as being real and meaningful and wholesome and all the kinds of things that you want your family to watch instead of some of the stuff that's on TV and these movies today. So
Yeah, I was not slow coming to the party. I just didn't know it existed until about 16 or 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And then Dawn, my wife, said, "Hey, you need to watch this thing with Chip Gaines." I was like, "What thing?" "Oh, there's this TV show." And I find this TV show, and it's phenomenal. I mean, it's funny, you know, and it's virtuous, and you know, it's enjoyable and so forth. And then I start getting on social media, and you start to see the impact that they're having there, and to follow that journey just as an outsider, sort of looking in and seeing, the trip to Memphis. You know, I mean, all these things. You're saying this is great. This is bringing people together to something that's that's exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation or the future? Do we know anything about what the impact might look like going forward? I know about the new relationship with Target, obviously.
Yeah, and again, they have a number of things that they already have in the can. So the furniture that Joanna does, the rugs and the pillows, and then now this Target thing, the paint. So there's a lot of other things that are in the works that we don't have finalization on. But again, things will work out like they're supposed to work out. And this is something that Chip and Joanna didn't take lightly. I mean, and again, they've got still another 12 to 14 months of this running, because their new show starts here, I think, on the 20th or something, I think. Whatever this next Tuesday coming up is.
The 5th season starts this month.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's going to run for 6 or 7 months, and then they'll have reruns off of that that'll run another 5 or 6 months. So they've got another year before you won't see them just regularly on TV every day.
Right.
But again, what happens between now and then? They just needed a time to refresh and renew, and to rethink about what their next season is going to look like, right? And we don't know what that looks like yet. So when God reveals it to them, then it'll be something special and something that I think will be the right thing to do. So
right. But I think beyond just the business ventures is the cultural impact, the testimony that has become their life and service.
Yes.
I think giving back and participating in community kinds of things, that they've done a lot of that.
Absolutely.
Continue to do that, and it means a lot, like you said, to these kids at St. Jude, but to all sorts of constituents that are starved for something positive.
Yeah, and they have a foundation that they've created that again donates tons of money to different causes around, and again it's kind of strange. When you get in a position like this, you have a lot of people pulling at you for your time and money.
Sure.
And you got to really do a good job of working through that, because you can't do it all.
That's right.
I mean, just like I was saying, I mean, as unfortunate as it is, there's just not enough hours in the day to do your family, take care of your business things, and deal with everybody else's issues.
Right.
So you do the thing like the guy throwing the clams back in the ocean, right? I mean, I can't throw them all back in there, but I can protect that one.
Right.
I can help that one. So that's the way they've got to think about this, and that's the way they do think about it, and they feel guilty about it sometimes. But again, I keep telling Chip, son, you can only do what you can do, and when God leads you a certain direction, that's the direction you need to go. And unfortunately, some people are going to be left out of that equation. But like Chip told me, God's big enough that He can handle those people that I can't get to.
That's right. We turn it over to God.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, well, I think about when you get on an airplane, and you're familiar with this obviously through all your travel and your life, but they talk to you about the oxygen mask, and you can put it on yourself first.
Yeah,
or else you're of no good to anyone else.
Exactly.
And I personally, Blake Leith, I was encouraged when I saw them make the announcement that they were going to step back from Fixer Upper for however long and whatever that looks like, because your heart goes out to them. You know that they can't be everywhere all the time and be all things to all people.
Absolutely.
And be wonderful parents.
Right.
And that window, as you've described and we all know as parents, is limited.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can only influence them for such a period of time, and then it's over.
That's right.
It's just over. What questions do you get asked most often about them and about that phenomenon, that success, and what question have you never been asked that you'd love to answer?
I guess the thing that people ask the most is, are they really like that in real life? I mean, do they really have that much respect for each other that you see coming across on TV? And you and I talked about this earlier in this interview, that respect that you have with your mate is very critical and very important in the longevity of your marriage.
Right.
Because if you respect that person's opinion and you look at their side as much as you look at your own side, and then are willing to be flexible and hear their issues,
right,
and act on those issues, then you're going to get that respect that you see on TV. And so that to me is one of the biggest questions that they ask, and I'm just telling you that's exactly the way they do it, and
right.
So that's what you see.
Mm-hmm. And never asked, is there anything that you wish somebody would ask that you've never been asked, or that you'd like to share or tell the world about?
I guess the only thing is, it's not really a question that they ask, but to be more, let's give them their space. I mean, they're just like you, just like me. They're trying to do the best they can and trying to do as much as they can. So
that's right. With a lot of weight.
Exactly.
And expectation.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're people first. We're all people first.
Absolutely.
We hire employees and people show up.
Exactly. That's right.
We have a mutual friend, Lou Romero, from years ago.
Yes.
I interviewed him earlier in the series, and he told me in 1993, 1994, Blake, if you're good at what you do and you're successful at it, more and more people will ask you to do more of it.
Yes.
And it'll be seductive.
Yes.
You'll feel like, well, I really need to do this, and
right.
This is the right thing to do, and I could do this well, let me go do it.
Right.
And he said, but be careful, because in the midst of that, you can lose your family.
Absolutely.
You can lose yourself.
Yep.
You can lose your purpose.
Yep.
And so I think that empathy and that respect, for them and their space and what they're trying to accomplish, and acknowledging that season is a profound gift that we can give to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. Well, in conclusion, any final thoughts in terms of looking back or looking ahead, or any parting words or final shots?
Well, just as you move through life, you're going to need to be in a place where you can be flexible and be willing to take on the challenges that are going to confront you, whatever they are. And again, they're not easy, and they're not something that you look forward to, but they're things that those seasons pass, and a new season will come that will give you insight about the season you just went through.
Yeah.
And so it comes for all of us. I don't care who it is. I don't care what your age is. Those things happen to you. And so I would just say that if you think of life that way, then it'll be easier for you to see, like you were telling me before, about what would your 30-year-old self think about what the 65-year-old or 68-year-old that I am today says about the things, and
Right.
that insight that you gain through those years is priceless, number one.
Yeah.
But number two, it makes you who you are, and it's created and molded you to the person that you are today. And if you look at it that way, then hopefully when you're younger, you'll think about things a little differently and start challenging yourself to be something different than you are. Set your goals, make them achievable, but then work toward those. And then at the end of the day, when you get to that other side, you can look back and say, wow, I'm glad that I did that. But if you sit there and maintain the status quo and don't want to go out and challenge yourself and drive yourself to be something different, then you'll always be the same you are today.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Thank you for joining me, Fireside.
You're very welcome.
I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
our chat.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Fireside is produced by Leith Group. Editing and mixing by Rob Rigdon. Technical support by J.R. Foresteros, Richard and Heather Vanderdice, and Clay Morgan. Research by Dave Rigdon. Special thanks to all our interviewees and to Katie Bird and Dawn Leith. Coordination and transcription services by Amy Taylor. Fireside episodes are available for download at leithgroup.com/blog. You can also find Fireside and other Leith Group productions on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Leith Group and Blake Leith.